Do you get pain behind your knee when you run? And have you tried icing it or taking time off running or even getting a cortisone shot or the fluid drained? And then when you go back to running, it just comes back? In that case, the question you should be asking yourself is not just what is it and how do I get it to go away for good, but what do I need to change about how I'm running to stop it from happening in the first place? If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell so that you're notified every time I post a new video on running form, running injuries, and how to get back that fun, free, flying feeling you had when you were a kid. I'm Jay Gruenke, founder of The Balanced Runner, and I've been helping runners and triathletes from beginner to Olympian improve their form and performance since 2003. And during that time, I've had many clients with back of knee pain, and we've always been able to resolve it with the same basic form change. But before we dive into that, it's important for you to understand some basic things about the anatomy of the back of the knee because there's a lot going on there. So you got your hamstring muscles running on the back of your thigh. They cross the back of your knee to attach to your lower leg. So you can feel back here these two cords, one to the outside and one more towards the inside. Those are hamstring tendons. And you can feel that they go across the back of your knee. And then if you move your fingers just to the inside of those tendons, you feel a meteor kind of tissue. So that's the top of your gastrocnemius. So that's this big muscle here in your calf actually also crosses the back of your knee to attach to your thigh bone. And so that's what you're feeling to the inside of your hamstring tendons. And then in addition to that, you also have a small muscle called the popliteus or popliteus that actually runs diagonally from the outside of your thigh bone to the inside of your tibia. So like this crosswise across the back of your knee. And its job is to manage rotation at your knee. So your knee doesn't exactly work like a hinge joint. There's a little bit of rotation that's very important. The upper and lower leg rotating relative to each other when you bend and straighten the knee. And so again, that the popliteus controls that. And you might also have a muscle called the plantaris that crosses over the popliteus in the back of your knee, a bit more towards the inside than in the middle, and then has a long tendon that runs down your calf all the way to your heel. And that's the longest tendon in your body. And the reason I say you might have that muscle is because there's a percentage of the population that doesn't actually. Somewhere between 8 and 20% of the population doesn't have a plantaris. Its function is not super well understood, but we do know that it bends the knee actively and it plantar flexes the foot. So if you have that muscle, that also can very much be involved in back of the knee problems. And then in addition to those muscles and tendons, you also have the basic structures of the knee. So the bones, the tibia and the femur that form the bottom and top of the knee joint, they have cartilage on their surfaces. Then you have the menisci or meniscuses, which are crescent-shaped cartilage that move and help the knee bend and straighten by sliding. And then you have the cruciate ligaments deep inside the knee, the anterior and posterior cruciate ligament. Of course, you also have a kneecap, but we're talking about the back of the knee, so that's not so relevant. So you can have problems with any of these structures. You can have tendonitis in any of the tendon attachments, attaching the muscles to the bones. You can also have inflammation of the bursas. So bursas are tiny fluid-filled sacs that we have around our joints. They're little cushions, and you can have them between muscles, you can have them between tendons and bones, and if one of them is getting too much pressure, it can become inflamed and painful. And so that could happen anywhere back there. You could have arthritis on the surfaces of your bones, although heads up about that, most people over a certain age have arthritis, and there's no without necessarily having any pain or dysfunction. So if you have been found to have arthritis, you don't need to think that that means you're always going to have knee pain. The issue there is very much then how you're moving and not what the condition of your knee is. You could also have an issue with your menisci. They don't themselves hurt because they don't have nerves, but they can be damaged. I think very often that's also an incidental finding. But anyway, you could also have an injury to your ligaments, the anterior posterior cruciate ligament. You also have ligaments on the sides of your knees, but then we're not really talking about the back of the knee anymore. If you just run and don't do any other sports and you haven't had an accident that impacted your knee, then probably it is not one of your cruciate ligaments that's the problem. In addition to all of that, knees require a lot of lubrication to do that bending and rotating and sliding thing that they do. And if there's something going wrong with that, then your body might create extra lubrication, and then that becomes swelling. And so you could have generalized swelling around the knee, or and sometimes that's called water on the knee, or you could have it sort of creating a pouch out the back of your knee, and that's called a Baker's cyst or popliteal cyst. If you've been diagnosed with a knee problem, one of the ones that I've mentioned or a different one, leave a comment below and let me know what it is. So the thing is, as I said earlier, just getting a diagnosis, which of those particular things is inflamed or swollen, and having a treatment plan to make your knee feel better doesn't answer the questions, how does this happen? And how can I stop it from continuing to come back? And those are running form questions. So over the course of more than 20 years of working with runners, I have found that you stress the back of the knee by using those muscles to help you push off from the ground. So when you're in mid stance, you're really on your foot. As your body starts to pass your foot, your hip joint should be going into extension. You should be extending your thigh so that it goes behind you. And if you're not doing that well enough, if you can't feel how to do that, don't realize that you should be doing it, or very, very used to keeping your hip joint bent, which a lot of people are, then you may use the action of picking your foot up off the ground to create a little push that pushes you forward with your thigh bone just straight underneath you like this. And so then you're using the muscles behind your knee to push off, and they're not really meant to do that. They're not made to do it well. So they end up getting stressed and overworked and tight, and you can get inflamed tendons and bursas, and the joint even itself is no longer quite sliding, bending, and doing its delicate little rotation the way that it should. And so then you start producing more fluid in the knee, and you can end up with that problem as well. And the solution is to get good at, to master extending your hip properly when you run. And so even taking that to its full realization, allowing the hip joint to go behind you, your thigh bone to go behind you, and then also tuning up your core action, which is the counter rotation of upper and lower body that is critical in healthy running, to help you spiral off your foot so that you do it without any stress either to the back of your knee or to any other part of your leg or foot. And so that then you've got a perfectly healthy leg. And when you do that, not only do your back of knee problems become a distant memory, but running starts to feel like you've always thought that it ought to. You get that fun, free, flying feeling. So I'm putting my best resource for improving this in the description below. And it's a free mini course called the Quads and Calves Solution. And it will help you learn how to extend your hip joints better and in a way that's optimal for running, while also relaxing any excessive work in your calves and helping you improve your core action. And I really do recommend that you do this course because it's designed to help you be able to feel the things that I'm talking about here. Whereas if you just watch this video and then try and figure out implementation on your own, it can be quite frustrating figuring out what you're doing and if you're doing it right. And there are actually a number of pitfalls that you can run into when you're working on improving your hip extension. But my course is designed to keep you from falling into them. In addition, I also have a ton of other resources on hip extension, proper glute function, and overall healthy running form. And I also offer online coaching if you want to dig deep and get really powerful changes. So one way or another, I hope that this video has put you on the road to really putting this problem completely in the past for you and improving your running form in every way. Do watch this next video, how to fix a tight hip flexor mid-run, because the exercise that I teach in that video would be a great pre-run warm-up for you. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and may all your running dreams come true.